Saying the name Richard Mille in a room full of watch geeks will evoke all kinds of emotions. You'll have a faction of the room saying, "Who would ever spend that much money on a watch that looks like it came from a gumball machine?" Another faction saying, "Ugh, so nouveau riche." And another tiny faction that kind of thinks they're cool. But a lot of independent brands have that effect. MB&F, Grubel Forzi, de Bethune, Urwerk, Constantin Shaken, and Hajime Asaoka to a lesser extent. Today I want to talk about why micro brands and indies really matter, and how the weird watch brands might actually be capturing the spirit of traditional watchmaking better than we think. If you're new here, hi, my name is Brittany, and on this channel we just talk about watches in a hopefully not pretentious and joyful way. But less about me, let's talk about weird modern watches. So if you're new to this whole watch collecting thing, there's a few basic principles that we all live by. 1. Hublot is landfill, loathing it is essential. 2. Heritage is king. Real, fake, doesn't matter. A good story goes a long way. 3. You will have a complicated relationship with Rolex. 4. You are now a pretend diver and need to have 100 meters of water resistance at all times. 5. Don't collect for the investment, bro. 6. Quartz is bad, but Apple is worse. 7. Although quartz is bad, you now love G-Shock. It's a logical fallacy, but you just have to accept it. And 8. Collect what you love, as long as what you love fits in this basic, accepted archetype. Those are the basic rules. Follow those and you'll go far in this weird little subsection of people. But there's been this weird phenomenon that's happened in the past decade of new watchmakers who are kind of throwing out the old rule book of classical design and are pushing these machines forward with modern materials and a new modern interpretation of what a wristwatch is and could be. I'm thinking namely of the meteoric rise of Richard Mille. And you know, okay, I'm a slow adapter. I can't see myself ever buying one of these kinda weird out there watches, let alone being able to afford one of them. But I truly believe one of the best ways to honor the watchmakers of the past is to innovate now. The great maisons that we hold in such high esteem only have that high place of honor because at one time their watchmakers did new things. We revere Jaeger because they innovated. We hold Omega in such high esteem for embracing the coaxial escapement, which was born out of George Daniels insisting that the Swiss lever escapement could be better. Even think of how we revere Abraham Louis Breguet as the best watchmaker who ever lived. Why? Because he pushed things forward with the engineering materials of his time. Sometimes I wonder if these kinda weird and out there indies and micro brands are actually doing the best at honoring the past by innovating now, rather than being a museum of what was. Okay, that turned into a weird watch sermon. Let's leave that there and look at the forefather to the modern watchmakers. Hublot.
1. Hublot is landfill.
Yes, that Hublot. So, hot take, I kinda respect Hublot. Although I don't like their design sensibilities, and I get why everyone clowns on them. Their pricing structure is a joke, and their designs are garish. But I can't help but respect them. Founded in 1980 by Italian Carlo Crocio in Switzerland, Hublot was innovating from the start. That same year at the Basel Watch Fair, they released the classic model, which was a precious metal wristwatch paired with a rubber strap. This seems normal now, but it was avant-garde at the time. Hublot continues to be known for fusing materials and being incredibly experimental with modern material, sapphire ceramic. And you know, Hublot doesn't want to be anyone other than Hublot. They don't care how many times Nico poops on them.
Piece of shit that's called Hublot. Hublot is
They probably invite it. They were never playing the same game. They know who they are, they know who their customers are, and they still remain one of the most successful luxury watch brands. But this isn't about Hublot, this is about the awesome micro brands and indies who are pushing things forward. One of the most remarkable watch brands of the last 25 years is Richard Mille. Whether you love them or hate them, they have made waves in an oversaturated market. In a short amount of time, they've become visible and known in the public eye, and in 2022, they became the 6th highest grossing Swiss watch company, up one spot from 2021, overtaking Longines in sales. To be fair, Longines pumped them in units, but Richard Mille's are expensive. RM has always been experimental with materials, with their specification sheets sounding more like an F1 car than a traditional wristwatch. From the very beginning, they wanted to be the marriage of high-tech materials and fine watchmaking, with extremely complex movements assembled and finished by hand. I don't know, I'm just feeling a little bit feisty today, but I submit this to you. What if the micro brands and indies who are doing the weirdest of watches are being more faithful to the heritage of watchmaking by refusing to stick to the traditional rules? The names we remember from the past are watchmakers and manufacturers who decided to make something distinct, something different, something noteworthy, and something that pushed things forward. They were innovators and inventors, not a museum insisting that things need to stay exactly as they are. Something I have to say and bring up as well, sometimes talking about Richard Mille can feel very pie in the sky, but there are some indies doing things to make their designs more accessible. I think of MB&F and their far more accessible Mad 1 creations, Kurono Tokyo being the more affordable arm of Hajime Asaoka, or even affordable brands like Christopher Ward pushing themselves to make things like their chime watch, the Bel Canto. I've got a funny relationship with the kinda weird avant-garde side of watchmaking. My tastes lean a little bit more conservative and fall more in line with the 8 basic principles of being a very average watch collector that we covered in the beginning. Even if I could, in this fake fantasy land, could ever afford an MB&F or a Bethune, I'm sized out of almost all of their offerings, and I just don't see myself wanting one of these. I'd get some weird, obscure, neo-vintage, complicated Breguet. But I really appreciate the brands that are pushing things forward, having fun with it, and actually driving interesting engineering and modern materials. I really think we gotta stop rolling our eyes at RM for being nouveau riche. 1, because that's so snobby. 2, if you appreciate engineering, you have to appreciate Richard Mille. And 3, what they have accomplished and built in such a short amount of time is noteworthy. Anyways, I think I've got off everything I needed to say off my chest. I'd love to know in those comments down below, what do you guys think about avant-garde watchmaking? What are your thoughts on Richard Mille? Let me know in those comments down below. And now, let's thank the wonderful, fabulous patrons who support this channel. Ooh, ooh, Pope tier patrons are the best. Ooh, ooh, all tier patrons are actually the best, but Pope tier patrons get a special thank you at the end of the video, If you've been watching this channel for a while, you know this is actually a singing channel with a side of watches. But for real, thank you to all tier patrons. You keep the lights on here at Gringa HQ. Thanks, guys.